The last game is against Magnus Carlsen. This was again the Norway tournament in 2015. And it was a Breyer. So we reached some position like this. Now I made a mistake. I played rook a2. In fact, I should have just taken here and played that. So I did this and now he went a3. Surprisingly, this move is better now because even though I've lost a pawn, my rook is still, in a sense, it's got prospects. Whereas after the move I played ba3, my rook only has prospects to come like this, and that's not very easy to achieve. So even knight d7, I went f4. Nonetheless, the good thing is I have this bishop here. That means these dark squares are going to be vulnerable later, as we will see. And I could make this move f4. So the thing is to be alert to counterplay by opponent. Why not queen h4? Well, then I go bishop g5, queen takes g3, rook e3, and I have very good. And I'm sorry, I'm going to win the queen. For a minute, I was worried about this because he takes, I take, I come back, and then he maybe gets compensation like this. But in the end, the queen is too strong. See that I actually exchanged the queen for the bishop, not the pawn, not the rook, because here I feel that my dark squares are going to be, his dark squares are going to be a big problem. So I thought this was the more dangerous try. But it seems that white is. So he went a5. Now I could go rook f1. Once again, if queen h4, then bishop g5, queen takes, rook f3, same logic. So he went f6, conceding the thing that he'll have to make this concession sooner or later. So he did it. I went f5. And if you want to think of defensive resources, it's nice to sense that what extra piece does white want to bring into the game? Well, white wants to bring this rook into the game. And the most natural course is to bring the rook like that. If I have to come here, then I have to go up and I have to go up. I need a lot more moves to achieve this. And so I think this may have been a mistake. Even though it's not evident how black can stop white in the long run, but he could have tried. Because now I was able to do this, and I didn't want to be distracted by taking this pawn because there will be a check. And then, so if I take this, he'll give a check, and then there's a bishop coming here, and I'm going to be distracted. So I made this very fine move because the main thing is that my rook will now join the attack, and I'm going to put all the pressure on this pawns. Even rook e7, rook here, rook f7. And now I decided to take. It wasn't necessary because the pawn is anyway being monitored by both the bishop and the rook. But there seemed no harm in taking it. Just get it out of the way because now there is no queen b6 check. So he went knight c5 and attacked my rook. I could move my rook, but now I sensed that it was time to start calculating, and I felt that this move was now winning. So I went here. He went g5. I could go h4. So he takes, I take. So I've lost an exchange, but I'm going to have some breakthroughs here. He went queen d7. I took. Probably I could have taken on g5, but I wasn't completely sure about a position like this. Because he'll go here. Bishop g7, rook takes g7, takes, queen takes g7. And if I do this, then it's a bit awkward, I thought. Of course, it is winning, but when you're attacking, you must find it's not good to have 3 good ideas because you can only play 1. What you must do is to look at all the options, decide which one you're going to play, and then spend your effort cleaning that 100% so that the way you choose actually wins. And the way I chose, I must admit, is very cumbersome. It depends on a point in an endgame, on a detail in an endgame. Having said that, since I saw it, might as well say that I played it. So I went here. There are other wins as well. In fact, knight h5, there are lots of winning ideas, but I went here. So the idea is to allow the pawn to come here. Even king h8, f6, rook g8. And now the line I had calculated, which is bishop g7 check, rook g7, check. He takes with the queen, because if he takes with the rook, then I go check, and rook f7, and I win his queen. And here's the beautiful move, knight f5. So if he goes anywhere else, if he goes to, let's say, d7, then after knight h6, everything crumbles. So he had to play queen g6. But here's the detail that I had seen and which why I allowed myself to play this. And knight e7. And you'll say, wait a minute. What happens if he plays rook h6? And then the line that I had calculated, which is check. The rook is being attacked, so I move it first. White to c8, you'll see in a second. He goes here. I go knight f5 check. He comes here. And I take this extra pawn. And now I have too many pawns on the queen side. And if he takes this, then I will take the knight and I'm winning. So that was the little detail that I had to foresee. So he sacrificed the exchange, and after that it's quite easy. Rook f8. If he takes on e4, then I'll play c4. Since he started with a4, I make my move in advance. He goes h5. Now I simply bring the king up. Let's see what would have happened had he taken the pawn here. Then I would attack that pawn. He comes back. I attack this pawn. He comes back. So now I've gained one move. Now I'll play this move, c5. If he cannot capture with the knight, so he takes with the pawn. Now I go here because this square is no longer available to the knight. He comes here. I take. Wait, didn't I blunder that pawn? No. Now I win this pawn. And the knight will not be able to stop this pawn against a rook alone. So this pawn will cost the entire knight and I'll be a rook up. And we made a couple of more moves. And here, because my king has taken away this key square, I will win this pawn for free without having to give one of my pawns. And he resigned. So very pleasing win for me against Magnus Carlsen, of course. And Norway is one of my best results. Norway 2015. So these were the two games in the same tournament. So attack is about taking into account your opponent's resources, accurately calculating the continuation you're going to play, and never forgetting that often the way to win an attack is to win the endgame that happens afterwards. In many cases, your opponent will be able to return enough material so that you are forced to go into a better endgame, but that is the price of an attack. That is the price for an attack often. I hope you enjoyed that.